Hey, hey, what's going on?
Oh, not much. Just another beautiful evening here in Santa Fe, New Mexico. How you doing?
I'm doing really good, man. Let me mess with my audio for a second here. You look great, I have to say.
Thanks. Hey, I appreciate it.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, in a minute, I'm gonna have to take this mask off because even out here in the garage in the recording studio, it's a little hot in here.
Um, that's good. Hold on just one sec. Alright, we got that guy going, microphone's going. Mhm. Um,
You're looking pretty handsome yourself, I gotta say.
yeah, thank you. Oh, man. Calamity. I'm having a little use separate audio. No other audio devices, available. 2 shimmies and a shake. I'm gonna lose you for just a second. Meaning
I'll
I won't
be.
be able to see you, but you will be able to see me perfectly. I created this tent. What do you think of this tent?
From what I can see, it looks pretty nice. It's a fuzzy blanket.
Yeah. Yeah, it's basically a series of blankets just all put everywhere. Uh,
Cool.
yeah, it helps with sound, believe it or not. Let's see here.
Oh, I believe it.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, right.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything that a blanket fort doesn't help with.
I agree, man. I agree. Do you have any like a hard out or anything? Like, do you have a time restriction that I need to be
Oh
sensitive
no,
to?
I'm all yours tonight.
Beautiful. I like the sound of that. Okay, let's see if this did the trick. Put you right back up here. Zoom meeting preferences. I'd always makes it better when somebody just like mouths what they're doing. Here's what I'm doing here, and all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna open the screen up a little bit, and then where did you get that? All right. Can you still hear me?
Loud and
Loud
clear.
and clear. Okay, great. Beautiful. You're coming in nice and crisp yourself.
Testing.
Testing. Testing.
I do hear
I
an
do hear an
echo of
echo of
myself.
myself. You hear an
I'm
echo of
I'm
yourself?
okay with that, but I don't know if you are.
Hold on.
It's gone now.
It's gone. Okay, great. Cool. All right. Sorry, no producer, so it's just me, and I gotta work these little kinks out, but, you know, it is what it is. I try and be as professional as I possibly can, but every once in a while, I'll have a corn chip, you know? Good old-fashioned corn chip.
Are you gonna plug the brand?
This is like you know what? This is a TJ, yellow corn chip.
Oh, very
Tra
cool.
Yeah. Are you familiar with Trader Joe's?
You know, I worked there for 6 years prior to getting my real estate license.
Great. I'm glad you brought that up. I wanted to talk about that briefly. Um, but why don't we start with why don't you just introduce yourself and tell everybody what your name and what you do for a living?
All right. Well, I'm gonna take the mask off
I think
if that's all right with your audience.
it's fine. Yeah.
All right. I'm just gonna get, get into my my true self here.
For anybody just listening, Dan just went from panda mask to full on gorilla suit.
And I will introduce myself, but I want to say I purchased this mask, but I actually sewed the suit. It's
Did
not
you
real
really?
gorilla fur, but it's like pretty close. last thing I sewed, probably had it for about 5 years running now,
Uh-huh.
and it goes without saying that it gets a fair amount of wear. Um, we're making this effort at home right now to put seasonal stuff into storage containers and
Yeah.
get it out of like the melee of a busy house with multiple kids and a big dog, etc. And my wife was like, "Let's put your gorilla suit in the Halloween box and throw it out in the shed." And you would think I would be absolutely on board with that because I was the one that was like, "We have to start putting this stuff in boxes and putting it in the shed for the year."
Yeah.
But when it came time to pack up the gorilla suit, I was like, "No, that actually stays in the house." And she was like, "Why?" And
You
at the time, I didn't have a good answer.
yeah.
But tonight, it becomes clear that I wanted to wear it for a podcast underneath my panda mask.
You were the audio came through so clear, I wouldn't have guessed you had double masks on.
Well, I'm gonna take this one off now,
I
and
are you
and
one of those
and take the opportunity to plug my earbuds. I didn't think I needed these things, but they were a gift. I think a birthday gift from my wife, and I got
Yes.
to tell you, they are worth their weight in gold. These pandemic times, being able to comfortably cruise around on and off the phone, on and off of Zoom, I use them about 1,000 times more than I ever thought I would, and I
I'll
love
back
them.
yeah, I'll back you up on that statement. I bought, like, an off-brand pair, and then I was gifted, much like yourself, um, the Apple ones, and substantial difference, I gotta say, like, just being an audio person, um, uh, I could it's night and day, like, the difference between them. And also, I didn't think that I would rely on them this much, but with, like, the mask around the ear and, like, I really like the analog plug-in ones with the wire. I didn't wanna get away from that, but anyways, long story short, I rely on them heavily, and I get a little sad whenever it goes, "Low battery." I'm like, "Oh, man, I gotta take these things out, charge them." And the little case is really cool too because it charges, as you know. Anyways, I digress. Enough about me. Are you one of these people that, like, whenever you, like, go to clean something or organize something, you end up, like, going through old photos like, "Oh, hey, look, what do you know there?" I'm sensing this with, like, the gorilla suit, panda suit.
And you can see a little bit of the garage behind you. Um, yeah, yeah, no, absolutely. I In spirit, I love excellent organization and minimalism, and the purging of stuff
Yeah,
that we don't really need. I've always give myself a pep talk, and I say it's time to separate all of the possessions into three categories.
yeah,
There's gonna be a pile of shit. There's gonna
yeah,
be a pile of things, and then there's going to be a pile of stuff in the middle, in between the two.
yeah,
Obviously, I'm gonna keep my things.
right,
Um, Things are like my earpods or the computer, things that get regular use, things that I need for business or for like recreation that I use regularly, the bike. Um, the stuff is like, it's not quite in the shit pile, but like the last time I may have actually played with it could be like upwards of 6 months to a year ago.
right, yeah,
And then the shit goes without saying. That's like, let me find a piece of that right here. Well, here's an empty propane canister for my blowtorch. There
yeah,
is no way that I'm gonna get this little guy refilled. I
you
think they're
know,
meant to be disposable,
yeah,
and it has been taking up prime real estate in my garage for several years. Um,
yeah,
I would love to get rid of it, but to answer your question directly, whenever I get close to this, I find something like this, and it's a
Full of-
jar of change. And I recall reading recently that there are certain pennies and dimes and nickels that are worth thousands of dollars. So then I'll get up my phone out and I'm like, which penny is worth like $10,000?
Yeah.
And I'm going to check about half of my change collection there. Usually turns out that I don't have that priceless penny.
Yeah.
And then I'm hungry, or the kid just woke up from nap, and it's time to get back to reality, and I have not found a way to recycle my empty blowtorch propane canister.
Yeah.
Easily distractible if given the free time.
And you wasted like prime napping, like kid napping time sorting pennies that basically just went back in the jar, right?
Yep, yep. That is
uh,
accurate.
hey man, I can't throw stones in a glass house, you know, I can't do it. So I'm right behind you, man. You've got some camaraderie here with me. um,
It,
why
it
don't
feels good to be amongst my people. I,
do you
I
have
will
something?
say that work and being pretty self-structured with my career
Uh-huh.
has made that a lot less of a kind of life challenge for me, because there are certain things that I just have to do. And where cleaning up the garage is on the like, I'd really like to get that done sometime this year list.
Yeah.
Um, Usually nap time is devoted to, here are like three important correspondence or follow-up calls that I have to make, and I will make them one, two, three.
Yeah.
Um, it's I'll never get away from my true distractible nature, but I do what I can to keep it from interfering, and my job keeps me on the straight and narrow with that. I really
Sure.
appreciate that.
Yeah, sure. Let's talk about your job. Let's what do you do for a living?
I am a real estate broker here
Uh-huh.
in New Mexico. I'm
Right.
licensed to do business statewide, but I primarily serve the greater Santa Fe area, northern New Mexico, and dabble as necessary in the beautiful Duke City,
Beautiful.
which is
Excellent.
Albuquerque for your non-local listeners.
And your name, good sir.
My name is Daniel Huberman. Pleasure to
Beautiful.
be with you all tonight. Thank you
The
for
pleasure.
thanks for bringing me in, Adam.
Oh man, the pleasure's all mine. I've been this has been on my radar since for a year now. For a full year. That's we met February, December, February. So for a full year, I'm like, I gotta get this guy on the podcast. Um, for various reasons that we'll get into. But um, you're just an interesting fellow, as 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 I'm sure people are already coming to find out. But I wanted to talk about your last name. I've been doing this. I've been nerding out on this like ancestry.com and finding out like my lineage, and it turns out I'm
Oh yeah.
crazy Scottish and some Irish in there and a little English. But um, your last name, I looked it up right before we got started, and your hair has a red hue to it. So I'm like, I'm sure it's probably Irish. I'm guessing, but there's also I think, and I'm paraphrasing. So take this with a grain of salt. Please keep me on the straight and narrow if you know the real like story behind all of this, or like or the more
I've
backstory
I've
behind.
done I've done the Googles too, but I
Okay,
want to hear you stutter through what you're getting at right here. I
that's
can
exactly.
tell you look a little uncomfortable, and I want to hear what's about to come out of your mouth.
Well, it's because I didn't have my ducks in a row, and I was like, "Oh, I should bring this up," but I didn't write it down. I didn't prepare for it. But uh, Huber is Yiddish for oats, and Huberman is an oat dealer among Russian Jews. Do you know about, you know about that?
I was hoping that was the Google that you found. I've found a variety of different trails back via the internet, and that's hands down my favorite. Was
Yeah,
when Google one night told me your last name means a small but prosperous oat farmer.
Yeah.
And I
Yes.
was like, small but prosperous oat farmer, like that's pretty cool heritage.
Modest.
You
Yeah,
know,
I love it.
it's not as like clear cut as some of those like really, I want to say they're kind of British last names like
Is cl
Miller,
is
you
clear
know.
cut, an oat pun? Cut.
Oh,
Clear cut.
whoa. Not
Hey.
intentionally, but yes. um it's not a really steel cut last
Yeah,
name
that's
like
where I was
Miller,
going.
who
Thank
would
you.
have milled my oats.
Yes.
um but yeah, no, apparently somewhere back in the day there was a small but prosperous oat farmer in my family line that I get the last name from.
Cool.
um I think the way it's been told from the Huberman side of the family, we were kind of Eastern European Jews
Uh-huh.
and came from a small shtetl named Huberman. So it
Yeah.
might have been a community of small oat dealers.
Ah, I see.
And whether or not we were engaged in the oat dealing hereditarily, I mean, there's a good chance of it, but I can't verify that.
Yeah.
Um, we we came stateside at the time of the Second World War coming into play, and I don't believe that shtetl exists anymore. I think it was pretty much wiped off the planet.
Yeah.
There is a Hubermans of the World Facebook group that I joined out of
Oh,
curiosity,
yeah.
and most of my international Hubermans in there are in like Argentina and other places around South America.
Cool. Hey,
And
that's
we don't, there's a language barrier.
right.
I don't speak Spanish very well,
Do you speak,
and
Yiddish at all?
I don't. I'm actually, despite having a very Jewish sounding and Jewish heritage last name, I am secular at best, but can't even claim to truly be Jewish because, you know, Judaism is passed down through your mom's side of the family.
That's correct, yeah.
My mom's maiden name, which she kept after marrying my father, is Doherty, of
Oh,
the O'Doherty clan of Donegal. It's, I want to say, like the third most common Irish last name
right.
stateside.
Okay, yeah,
Um,
so there's the reddish.
so that explains the red hair.
Yeah, cool, man. Cool, yeah, I was thinking Irish. I was like, "Maybe we're brethren, maybe there's something." So, possibly, man, you got I dug back far enough that Cynthia, my partner, we are related. Not something that I'm super excited
Nice.
about, but, 14 generations back, we're like cousins or something. Our My grandmother was like her my grandmother's sister was her, like, 14 generations back grandmother. Anyways, long story short, I'm like, "Whoa, I guess if dig back far enough, we're all kinda screwing each other." But, that's neither here nor there. I was like, "Whoa, we're
You know,
related, gross."
in a biblical sense, you know, we all come back to one couple at some point. So
Yeah,
I wouldn't worry about it. I would say 14 generations, um, and then a loose connection there. You're both dog lovers, right?
correct, yeah,
So I mean, look at what makes a strong breed of dog, and it's not going to be continuous genetic diversity.
I concur.
um you know, the strongest, like most immune to all possible congenital problems dogs out there will be like the ultra mutts, god bless them. um
Yeah,
but to get I want to say you have a Merle corgi, right?
that's correct, yeah,
So your Merle corgi, you know, it's got some shared ancestors somewhere back,
correct.
and I want to say it's way more than, or like closer than 14 generations ago, and that is Ethel, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
Ethel, yeah, nice job, man, yeah, that's Ethel.
Dude, sweetie Ethel is like such a beautiful, charming, well-behaved, well-adjusted dog. You know, don't,
Thank you.
all of that to say, don't give yourself a hard time about, 14 generations ago, someone in your line was a cousin of someone in her line. That doesn't
Yeah,
matter.
I can bang my cousin if I want to.
Let
But,
me let me lean in here and show you my front teeth.
yeah,
So I got my front two, right?
yeah.
And then these are my pointy teeth.
The vampire teeth, as some
Do
may
you
know it.
notice anything asymmetrical?
Yes, there's an extra in
So
there.
it's not that this is an extra. This is a
Mhm.
bicuspid, I think is the name of
Yes,
it.
correct.
I don't have a bicuspid over here. I only have a bicuspid on the right side of my top teeth.
Wow.
And I
Do you
share that with you to let you know that within the last 14 generations in my bloodline,
uh
there were probably a series of cousin marriages.
Okay, I'll
So
drink
so
to that.
don't sweat it.
Are you drinking
Cheers.
nice, man? Cheers. Cheers. What do you have there?
This is a
Take a big gulp.
I think Albertson's house brand signature select grapefruit Soleil sparkling water beverage.
Beautiful, man. That's beautiful.
I'm
How
I'm
did you
partial to the grapefruit.
Yeah, same here. The grapefruit somehow isn't too, like, chemically or perfumey. It usually lands well with me. It tastes like the actual fruit and some of these, like, flavored soda waters. Oftentimes, grapefruit's the way to go if I'm on
What do
the
you got in your can?
This is a local Mosaic IPA, you know?
Mass Ascension.
Yeah, man. Yeah, gotta do it. I was feeling a beer. I don't know.
An ode to our hot air balloon fiesta.
Yeah, isn't this a fun design? It's
And
mosaic, and it definitely looks like a hot air balloon, which is, synonymous with, the Hot Air Balloon Festival in Albuquerque every October, sometime
yeah,
around there.
with the exception of last year. Have you been?
No, but it's on my list. I do wanna
Yeah,
go.
you
I
got to do it. The Mass Ascension, when all the balloons go up in the morning, is a
Yeah,
must do. But you're also going to want to make sure you go to the nighttime glow where they tether the balloons, but then they all fire them up, and it's like they're all just like glowing across this big field. It's really cool.
yeah, that sounds awesome. That sounds awesome. That's
Don't bring
great.
the dogs. It's loud.
Okay, good to know. Yeah, good pro tip there, because I would think, like, outdoors, bring the pups. Good to know. Cool, man. Let's shift gears and talk about how you got into real estate a little bit. So before you were, maybe I should preface this with, you got me into my house. So I have a massive gratitude I want to give to you, and, I know I
Hey,
expressed this
man,
earlier.
it was an absolute pleasure, and I gotta extend some gratitude to you too, because
Really?
like I told you while we were texting a little bit earlier in the week, like it's I I love. Let me rephrase that. I really enjoy in different ways working with every client I've ever worked with, but there is something really uniquely special about working with you and your partner,
Really?
people approximately my own age, uh, really dedicated to just making it work, rolling with
Yeah,
the punches. There's very few times when a sale just runs entirely according to the textbook. And one of the far out things that I remember coming up for us, well, aside from the fact that the seller was in Sri Lanka
yeah,
and had to go to the embassy to sign most of her papers like every time we had a back and forth. uh
yeah,
the one thing I really learned with you guys was uh you're gonna get screwed if you show up with cash for your earnest money deposit. I
yeah.
That was not on my radar prior to you guys, because we're in such a cashless society. um
I know. man. I
For
know.
your listeners, get your money in the bank if you're going to buy a house, and let it season, which means like let it sit there for like several months.
Yeah.
That way, when you're going to wire some money to the bank for your mortgage, or to the title company for your bank, that they can actually say like, okay, this came from their bank account, proceed as planned.
Yeah.
Um, Me not knowing about that had you guys jumping through some real hoops to sort that out as we progressed, and you were such troopers.
Oh,
Maintained smiles through the whole thing. We're like, okay, what if we do this, what if we do that, we'll talk to our lender, done and done. And you made something that could have really just been the end of the transaction, just a step along the path. And
yeah.
it was truly a pleasure working with you guys.
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah, being a ex-bartender, in the past, I had just like stacks of cash that was my savings account for a long time. And when it came time to like, this time to throw some money at a house, I was like, how about how about this stack of physical bills? And you're like, yeah, we'll use that for earnest money. Which, as you just mentioned, it became problematic, but we were able to not launder money, but transfer funds through relatives and sort of made it happen. So with the promise of, anyways, I don't know legally like what I should or shouldn't be saying, but I was able to borrow.
Let me recap what actually happened, because you make it sound like it was way more exciting than it was. um, what happened was you had to get the title company had to write you a check for that cash back,
Right.
and
Yes.
you had to come up with seasoned money for
Uh-huh.
your earnest deposit, which a relative provided for you, and accompanied with a gift letter explaining this is a gift and it's going towards my sweet relative's purchase of a new house. and
Correct.
then and then we just pressed on forward.
Yeah.
If you did anything with that check other than just put it back in your bank, like that's entirely your business and doesn't matter.
Right.
because
Yeah.
because
Done.
what we closed on Valentine's Day.
Yeah, that's right. We closed on Valentine's Day. So
So we're coming right up on your year anniversary.
man, I'm surprised. Am I surprised? I'm not surprised that you remember that. You're a pretty sharp fella. You cease to amaze me. And what's funny is shortly after closing, I went back to your previous job, like you mentioned before. You were at Trader Joe's that I frequent. And when we closed, you were like, look at them. Here's some happy clients right here. Valentine's Day. What a freaking date to close on. Isn't this crazy? Look at that. Look at the two happy couples there. Or look at the one happy couple, the two people. Um, every transaction for about 3 or 4 weeks in Trader Joe's were, hey, I know you, man. I know you. I follow an ex coworker, Dan, um, and he, took a picture of you guys. You guys just bought a house, and I'm like, yes, yes, I did. But it was before that. They're like, hey, congratulations, you just bought a house, and I'm like, look, am I wearing a sticker? Like, how do these guys know this? Anyways, the sentiment that I got from your ex coworkers were, you're the kind of guy that someone goes, oh shit, I got to work on Tuesday, open shit. Oh, but I'm working with Dan. That'll be all right. That'll be fun. Like you just interacting with your ex coworkers, I could tell that that's how they felt about you. Like this is the guy that people are like, oh man, this is going to be a Saturday shift. I was supposed to have this day off. Oh, but Dan's going to be there. This will be fun. This will be fun. This will be funny. They really care about you, man.
Well,
It's
that gives me the warm fuzzies. Thanks, man.
yeah.
I think I like to think that a majority of folks I worked with over there feel the way you just described.
I
Um, I know there's a handful of folks that probably didn't, and I'm going to be totally honest with you. While customer service and the customer experience were my strong suits,
yeah.
and it was very important to me to be as much as possible on great terms with all of my coworkers, because they're extended family at that point. Um, I was never very good at actual like the stocking of shelves, like the basic productivity was not my strong suit.
The actual
Talk
work.
taking a like as long as it took to make sure that a client that was wondering and asked me like, should I be getting this can of tuna because my whoever wrote tuna on the shopping list, or
Uh,
should I get the albacore, or like what's the difference and why are there like three or four of each?
yeah,
I would make sure that when they left like an hour later, that they were like heading home like probably with one of each and like excited to do a blind taste test for their partner or whoever wrote the list, and like
yeah.
and be ready to say, well, like what's unique about this one is you know the real joy of customer service is that comes naturally. The productivity end of like we got to restock. One of my least favorites was the dairy box because we stocked that one from behind,
Yeah.
and it gets lonely and it's cold and it's thankless because instead of like getting to have those great moments with our typically really engaging, fun clientele that are like throwing you a softball, like, hey,
Yeah.
what's your favorite salsa and why? I'm like, oh, bud, here we go. It's like all the only validation you get when you're in the dairy box is like sometimes someone peeks through a hole and is like, hey, you have any of like my favorite yogurt? And you're like, no, that's why the hole is there.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. And they're like, well, fuck. And I mean, that just doesn't do it for me.
Yeah. Yeah. I get that, man. I totally understand.
And I guess as a result, my performance in those positions where it was all about just getting something monotonous done didn't do it for some of the management.
Yeah, yeah, I can tell you really get a sense of, completion with customer service, making somebody happy, delivering not just the product, but, the sort of the attitude that comes along with it. So if I can pat you on the back in that instance. Maybe if you did the
Thanks.
stocking, yeah, yeah, man. Maybe if you did the stocking in the gorilla suit, though, it would be a little like, "Oh god," like if somebody sort of looked back there, that might be a little more fun. I don't know.
The gorilla suit did make several annual appearances at Trader Joe's for my Halloween shifts.
That's fantastic, man.
Yeah,
Things
this
got
this suit has been to work.
yeah, that's wonderful. As it should, right? I mean, who doesn't get a little smile on their face when
My
somebody shows
my favorite, I would request to be the one restocking the banana trees.
exactly where my head went, and I was like, "Don't go for the low-hanging fruit, quote, unquote." But I
Yeah,
it's
no,
exact I was like
it,
I was gonna make a
it's
joke
not
about
even low hanging. It's essential. I mean, if you've got a gorilla working a grocery store on Halloween, you put him on the bananas.
that's right. Oh my god, that's so good. Oh, man. What was your craziest thing that you've seen in doing real estate so far? Like, was it whenever I called somebody that lives close to where I was potentially going to buy this house, and they said, "Can I bring my dogs?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm gonna bring my dogs." And then we all showed up and 11 dogs got out, and you were like, "Okay, I really hope the seller doesn't show up." And, there were dogs running all over the property.
That was a wild moment. It
I could tell
was
I could tell you were sort of like a duck on water, like, you were like, you gotta check it out, and if these are your friends and they live close by, and you're sort of looking over your shoulder like, nobody's coming driving up the driveway, right? Like, we're
well,
alone
and
on this
that
one.
was the day we were there for inspections, correct?
Um,
So, okay, I want
no,
to say that we were there with the inspector.
no, not yet. It was just, it was, you had asked, so we saw the house once and I was like, I just want to take one more peek just to make sure. Is that cool? And you're like, totally, no big deal. You name it, whatever time and date works for you. And it was like a Saturday. Everybody was off. I didn't know my friend, she was going to bring all of her dogs. And I ended up bringing my 2 dogs on top of that. And there was literally just like there's so many dogs.
Well,
I
so
was nervous a little bit for you.
you know, I would be lying if I said that didn't make me uncomfortable. Um,
Yeah, so we're in the
there
clear
were
now.
a handful of things that worked in I'm going to say our favor for that situation.
Yes.
One, a completely rural property with acreage that's like been uninhabited for a long time.
Correct.
Um, if there's anywhere you want your client to show up and be like, "Oh, and I brought the dogs," and then have I don't think it was 11, but like
Yeah,
lots of dogs piling out, like
yeah,
that's like the place to do it.
yeah.
I tell you, uh, I have a potential buyer in the wings right now who has a very sweet little Chihuahua.
Yeah.
And we go to look at houses, and sometimes the Chihuahua comes, sometimes the Chihuahua doesn't.
Mhm.
And I haven't really thought anything of it. The Chihuahua gets in a little purse to hang out like while we're going in and out of people's places. Um, Once she got down inside of one of the places we were looking at and was running around and like being really cute and then jumped back in the purse. And
Yeah.
then as soon as we got outside, she got out of the purse and proceeded to like do this like rapid head shaking vomiting thing where she
Oh,
was like spraying like little chihuahua vomit like left and right like really fast. You know how like kind of inherently twitchy chihuahuas are, like it was like and it was like it freaked me out. Like we're outside, it's like on the sidewalk. um Definitely the right place to do it, but that got me thinking again about like the dogs on a showing issue and how
yeah.
like I probably need to set uh pretty clear boundaries about like, if at all possible, don't bring your dogs to see the house.
Yeah.
um because I read a horror story about that where someone had their service dog going through a house with them, and like, that's your like constitutionally protected right.
Right.
But where things got weird was the sellers had cameras
Yeah.
and had not been alerted that there would be a dog on the premises. And sellers having cameras is like very common. Cameras are so cheap these days. You got strangers coming in and out of your house. Like if I was going to sell my house tomorrow, my family would not be here while you came to see it, but I would have some kind of surveillance. Like
Sure. Yeah.
it, I don't hold that against anyone, but where it gets weird was and now this is something I read. This is not a personal story.
Yeah.
Uh, the sellers who had this dog on camera, like rifling around through their house with these prospective buyers, were very, very allergic to dogs. And that's
Oh,
something I forget about. It's like, yeah, some people are extremely allergic to dogs, and like that. Like I'm glad I've never been in that situation, or that any of my like near misses with dogs like potentially making something awkward between a buyer and a seller.
yeah.
So far it's all been cool. I'm a dog lover myself. I got this 120-pound mutt named Moose.
Yeah.
um he's I love that dude. I love dogs. I love cats too, but I'm allergic to cats.
Yeah.
um and I
Cynthia
remember
actually
that.
chose you because Moose was on your business card or however she found you. I don't know how she unearthed you, if whether it was a Google search or a business card or something. She was like, "This guy's got a dog. This is the guy for me. This this guy's a dog lover. He's a okay." So it
And
ticked. the box for us.
Back when I worked at Trader Joe's and had no reason in the world to have my own business card, I
Yeah.
actually printed up business cards for Moose. Like Moose had a business card. Um, we'd be at the dog park and like people would be like your dog is really cool, and I'd be like, thanks. Here's his card. They'd be like, you're kidding, right? And I'm like, no, like that is actually his card.
Yeah.
It's my phone number and email address on there. But if you'd like to get a hold of Moose, um, you know, you
I'm
got to
sort of,
go through me first.
yeah, I'm like his agent. I like, yeah, you gotta, I'll set up the lunch. We'll yeah, well, I'll have your guy call his guy, and then, then we'll move from there. I thought you were gonna say there was like a cent on the business card. Like, if you want to find Moose, this is it. Get the cent,
Well, he is one of those unfortunate canine friends that needs their backside glands expressed periodically. So if
Yes.
I was gonna lay a signature scent on Moose's card, I don't think I could probably get anyone to take it.
I I had a senior dog, and he had the same issue. So I feel you on that, buddy. I know the trials and tribulations of expressing the anal glands. Something you got to do. Otherwise, you get like rug skid marks, and nobody wants that. Anyways, have you ever had to like shift your in in your line of work? Have you ever had to like shift your morals or religious standings for for anybody, like somebody maybe I don't know, maybe hates dogs and you're like, yeah, can't stand them myself. Do you ever like kind of
I'll never go that far. I really value authenticity at the end of the day.
sure,
And if someone says I hate dogs, I'm not going to be like, well, let me show you a picture of my dog and
right,
explain to you why I love him. Um, but I'm not. I won't antagonize someone on the other side of whatever.
yeah,
Um, but I don't see myself as enough of a chameleon to completely uh recede into like that's just not right. uh Part of the way you asked that question, like realigning my values within the business for someone else, um it makes me think of like in the last year I've gone actually through a really major realignment for myself. um I'm about to drop the like you weren't expecting it to go this way bomb on you, Adam.
no,
um
man, that's what this is about.
I'm uh last March, early March, um right immediately before the lockdown happened, less than a month after we got you to the finish line on closing your home, I
Yeah,
had a couple other homes in contract, and I'm gonna give it to you raw here. I was driving like increasingly more and more regularly, like pretty much blacked out drunk, with my like human kids in the car with me sometimes, and like in the very end of a long downward spiral into really serious alcoholism. And I was given the opportunity, after what I consider my bottom, which was just that, like showing up like pretty incoherent with a bag of Lotta Burger in one hand and the like baby cruiser in the other hand. I was given the opportunity to go to rehab. I did an inpatient rehab through the start of the pandemic. God bless my wife for holding down the fort with two kids and a wasted husband that was off trying to get well. And I am now coming up on my year anniversary for quitting alcohol. I haven't put anything stronger than vitamins and coffee in my bloodstream since March 11th of last year.
Wow, that's
And through that, dude, it's been the most crazy, really intense realignment of values that I've ever, like, I could have never even imagined it.
wow.
And so that's been the really big change, and it hasn't been like, how do I like fish out, like having someone who I might do business with feel like I'm the right person to do business with. It's been a challenge of how do I stay true to myself and to my actual core values,
Yeah,
um, in a way that I can not only eventually be a lot better real estate professional, but in a way that it's sustainable, that I can show up for myself, for my kids, for my wife, for my community. And that's been the real realignment for me.
wow, man, that is insane. Just just a just not knowing on a day-to-day basis what people are going through, because like I said, you were tip top, you were on it, you were, you know, fully had no clue. And that's huge, man. Well, first off, congratulations. Like, that's a
Thanks, man.
milestone. So, you're coming up on a year now, of
Here,
not putting.
I have a day counter on my phone.
Do you
Um,
really?
today is 331 days of continuous sobriety
We're so close. That's
for
amazing.
this family man, realtor, and gorilla suit wearing friend of yours.
You just That's it, man. Wow, that's amazing. Thanks, man, for sharing that. That's some deep personal, um, trials and tribulations, and I commend you for going out there and tackling it and taking care of what you need to take care of, man. I've got a
Well,
really close.
I've been waiting to drop it until I was in a really like prestigious kind of interview situation like this. So outside of immediate family, your listeners are going to be the first to know
Cool.
that Daniel Huberman identifies as an alcoholic and is in recovery.
Wow, man. Really makes me feel like an asshole for drinking a beer on the
Well,
show.
now please don't, because part of my recovery is really owning my part of everything.
Yeah,
Um, and my problems with alcohol are not your problems with alcohol. And I don't
sure.
expect anyone to like not have a beer around me,
Right.
because you're not the one that was acting as like really dangerously and self-centeredly, fearfully as I was. You know,
Yeah. Do
it's
you feel that? Go ahead.
it's it's actually it's a great joy. Since my sobriety has been like pretty much starting with the pandemic, I haven't really got a lot of opportunities to like go to events where normally I would be drinking, and there's other like substantial social drinking going on.
Yeah,
But I'm honestly really looking forward to that. Some of my mentors, in recovery are like musicians, who are playing shows at bars
yeah,
and are absolutely loving their life and are not getting, thrown off or feeling irked and starting to sulk when other people are enjoying themselves having a beer. Like, believe you me, I have enjoyed drinking so much. It got to a point at the end where it wasn't enjoyable, and it wasn't like there was no control. Um, that said, I love, I call them, normies, people who can drink normally,
yeah,
have one, two, or three, and then stop. And
yeah.
that I had that at some point and I lost that wiring, but I would never impose like, since I can't drink, you shouldn't either on anyone.
Sure. Do you feel
So
that,
I'll cheers you right now actually to
okay,
just
yeah,
make the point.
cheers, man.
I'm glad you're drinking a beer.
Thanks, man. I'll continue on. Do you feel like this is a pattern, or is this something new? Like, is alcoholism something that's, in the family, or is this just
Hmm.
was it stress of the
It's
job? Have you
it's definitely in the family. Um,
it is?
my folks, neither one of them is a problem drinker
Uh-huh.
per se. My dad's like purely a normie. He likes a beer with dinner, and he's good. I think I think my mom is more likely than my dad certainly to have like that second glass of wine, but I've never in my entire life seen her like unhinged,
Yeah.
falling over or anything like that. So it wasn't part of my household growing up, but a lot of I think my mom is probably the only one of five siblings of hers that still is able to drink or has like anything close to a healthy relationship with alcohol.
Yeah.
My grandfather on that side, the disease of alcohol definitely shortened his lifespan. Um, that's that red haired blood, my dude.
Sure, man. Yeah,
It's
hey, I know there are times where I'm like, "This is pretty early," like, or 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 "I probably should have stopped," I don't know, maybe 7 hours ago. So that's right, like you said, there's that red blood, man, and I think that that's fairly common that, it can get passed down, so you can be pretty susceptible to falling into those habits, um, so
and beyond that, there's like there's a social component, there's a spiritual component, there's I love hearing people's stories where uh you know you kind of qualify for like here's how it was,
yeah,
um here's how I see it started, here's like where I was when I like realized I have to stop,
uh-huh,
because that's like, hey, like I resemble parts of that story.
sure,
But there's never anything that's like, in my mind at least, it's not. I don't blame my hereditary patterning for it. I don't blame my friends in high school or college where it really got going. Um, I believe at this point that it was essentially for me, trying for a long time to kind of fill some kind of spiritual void.
yeah,
Um, I don't know I don't know how better to explain it, but it's like my life is pretty good. Even at the end, like when we closed your house,
yeah,
uh and like I got this like amazing couple that I really like think the world of, in like the keys to their like rad property. Um like I had a two sweet sons, one of whom was like barely a couple months old at the time. Uh, my wife, super loving, super supportive. Like, just I couldn't ask for more personal fulfillment, professional fulfillment. I got a roof over my head. I got a nice car to drive. Like, life was really good, and it wasn't like poor me, poor me, pour me another drink.
yeah,
And yet somehow, like, I was just like, at the end I would be on autopilot,
sure,
and I would wake up and I'd be like, I am not drinking today, and I could make it a day or two sometimes, but then I would find myself like, with having put no conscious thought into it, like driving out of the Albertsons parking lot
uh-huh,
with a sleeve of shooters.
yeah, yeah,
And it's like, my thought was, well, if I get the shooters, I can control how much I drink. Like, I knew better at that point.
Yeah.
But it's the whatever the problem was, however it came to pass, it was a progressive decline. Ask some of my friends from college, and they would tell you, like, we could have told you that dude shouldn't be drinking like 20 years ago.
Yeah, man.
um,
I
it's
I
go
I
for
know
it.
where you're coming from. I've got a really close friend to me, and we've been friends for he's one of my longest relationships that I have outside of family. And same, like I in high school, I could have told you, like, yeah, guys, he he doesn't play for the fun of the game. He plays to win. Like this guy, he punches it. Like and
That is one way to put
you
it.
know, and it was never a problem for me, but when push came to shove and the tires met the asphalt, whatever the saying is, and he finally said, you know, I gotta sort of look the devil in the face or battle this beast. And you know, tackle this obstacle that is alcoholism. I sort of I wasn't surprised, but I was also like, good, you know, good for you, man. That's great. And you know you better than I know you. So get out there and do your thing. And I still support him, and we're still pals. So a lot of things that you're saying like definitely resonate with me. As far as like a close personal relationship, I do have something that I can like, oh yeah, that sounds familiar. Oh yeah, that's like my buddy. Um, but not to take away from your story or anything like that. But
No,
I hear
I'm
you.
I'm glad you share that because I don't think that there's a person out here in this world that we live in that hasn't been affected by alcoholism. Maybe not, like, sure, like a lot of people have not been personally inflicted with
Right.
the disease of alcoholism, but I don't think there's one of us out here that hasn't had had some kind of casualty, be it like within the family, within our friend group, that comes back down to an inability to drink like normal people. Um,
Sure. Yeah, certainly. Certainly. You mentioned coming to grips with religion a little bit. Is there is there a religion or like a higher being that resonates with you that sort of helps you with this? Do you not want to talk about that? Is that too personal? You
I'm happy to
tell me.
talk about it. I know it's for me. I identify as a Unitarian Universalist. That's the church that I was raised in. My mom was in a split household between one of her parents was Catholic and one of them was Protestant, and
Mhm.
she alternated going to church at the 1 week one week the other. And so her church experience as a kid was basically hearing, like, at her dad's church, "Oh, your mom's going to hell because she's not worshiping right." And
Yeah,
then next week it was like, "Your dad's going to hell because he's not accepting like the way this works if you
yeah,
want to get into heaven." So she came out with like a really meaningful kind of fear of like heavily polarized religions, and it's so far out to me that, like, you know, those are both essentially branches of, I mean, Catholicism and Christianity. You can draw your distinctions, but it's both people that believe in Jesus and read the Bible. And it's like, if they can't get along, like, wow, like, think about like what we're supposed to do with like people that read an entirely different text,
yeah,
are from an entirely different culture, believe in something entirely differently, spirituality wise. um she decided to put me in church. You know, I grew up here in Santa Fe, and I went to a very sweet, kind of old grandma's house for daycare while my parents were working as a little kid.
Uh-huh.
And like many good Santa Fe grandmas, there was a lot of Jesus iconography on the wall. And at some point, I came home from daycare. It was a little tyke talking about Jesus, and my
Yeah.
mom said, "Oh, yeah, what do you know about Jesus?" And I said, "Well, she's that really nice lady with the beard." And so my mom was like, "All right, well, like, you need to get to church
Yeah.
if you think that Jesus is that nice lady with the beard." I still laugh about that because,
Yeah.
you know, so many of those like grandma quality portraits of Jesus like do
Yeah.
show him with like kind of feminine features, like glowing red cheeks
Yeah.
and a very delicate nose and like a very well groomed beard, and he's in these long gowns, like looking very majestic, but also like potentially feminine to a little kid that doesn't know the difference.
Sure. A lot of rouge, a whole lot of like rosy
Right,
cheek.
right. So I was raised in the Unitarian Church, and it was an amazing experience because we got to really delve into uh, more so uh, what what people believe rather than what you need to believe. And so we read the Bible. We talked about Catholic tradition, we talked about Christian tradition, but where it gets like really impressive to me is you know, the Sunday school is called religious education, or RE. I'm going to RE instead of the main service. It didn't stop with the Bible and talking about different brackets of Christianity. We read excerpts of the Torah,
Cool.
and actually practiced different important like Jewish traditions. Not like probably as full blown as if I was in temple, but I got to like at a young age in my church that also taught me the importance of Jesus. I also got to like do my first like Seder dinner,
Yeah,
and
man.
and that was amazing. And like, you know, not a lot of time spent on like Kwanzaa, but at least an acknowledgement that it exists, and like one Sunday out of the year dedicated to like we're gonna read like something about the culture and how they celebrate, just a real scatter shot. So it felt to me more like a true religious education rather than any type of religious indoctrination. And that left me uh both kind of aware of all of the different ways that people worship, but also with a little bit of a setup for that spiritual void. um I did not have a really direct connection with a higher power for most of my teenage years through adulthood. And I would get by on like occasional experiences of awe, like seeing something just amazing and being like, all right, there's more to existence than just like filling the car up with gas, you know,
Yeah.
and going to work and whatever.
Dan, give me 2
Um,
seconds, man. I really apologize. One of my audio equipment is failing right now, and it's giving me an alert. I just need to plug in one cord,
oh
man.
yeah, yeah,
Just
take your time, dude. It's all good.
one one pin, and it'll take me 30 seconds.
Take your time, bro.
And just like that, it is almost saved it. Okay. Please continue. I'm so sorry, man. That I
It's all
really
good, dude. It's all good.
apologize.
Um,
I haven't. This is one of the first podcasts I recorded this year, and I'm rusty-ish as far as like my setup. I had to like plug all my microphones in, and right before we started, I was having audio issues. But please,
The
go. So sorry.
the fact that you're recording from inside a blanket fort, um, honestly, it gives me complete confidence that even if there was like total system failure, you're gonna be just fine. Like you've got this.
It's
um,
basically just a chair on a table right now, and I'm underneath the chair, in my little fort of blankets. Anyways,
so
so you got
I don't want to like bore you and the audience for
not at all, man.
like
This is
going on
good.
about this for too long, but just
Just to give
to finish the thought off,
yeah,
um, or you want to?
I was just going to give you some confidence that in just about every show, I bring up religion. What do you think happens whenever you die? Is a question. Where are you religiously? Is a question that I bring up often. So this is not like, oh, this podcast really went into religion big time. This is a norm. So don't feel like
Okay,
you're soaking up this with a religion sponge podcast. This is right where it needs to be. I would have never brought it up if I didn't enjoy the conversation that we're having. So
cool.
yeah, I think
Yeah,
that's super.
so I never really had without that indoctrination that people get in a very directed like Sunday school kind of situation. Um, I did not wind up coming out of church uh, fully trusting in any specific higher power. I had more of a kind of vague question mark
Yeah,
in my heart,
sure.
and I felt like that was really helpful because it kept me open to uh, acknowledging and really embracing that good people come from all different religions and come from places with no religion.
Yeah,
You
man.
know,
That's a
and that's important. That's still to this day. That's one of the things that rubs me wrong with a lot of really major organized religion is I don't have a place in my heart for being told by my would-be spiritual leader that someone else who does what they can to help out their fellow man and woman, um, does what they can to show up for their family, does what they can to better their community, stops and helps someone push their car to the side of the road when it's stuck in the middle of the road. Like just good, basic good people. Um, I can't have a would-be religious leader tell me that they're going to wind up burning for eternity in hell because they didn't adhere to this one person's or this one faction's specific ideology of how you have to believe to get to heaven. Um,
yeah. I'm coming to realize I was raised Southern Baptist, and my dad was a deacon of the church, and it was this way, this way, this way, this way, and we just got like hammered with religion, and I wasn't exposed to any other religions but that until a much later date, and that's what interested me in like, well, what is Judaism? What is the Torah? What is Catholicism? um, why is being Protestant better than being Baptist, or vice versa? So I had all of these questions that were never really answered that I had to sort of seek out as an adult. So I really admire that you were exposed to that at a young age, and I think that's fascinating. And yeah, man, I sort of have the same sort of overall view of we need more of like a fantasy football rather than like the Dallas Cowboys versus the San Francisco 49ers. Like, why can't we just root for like good people as opposed to like, oh, well, that person dances. So they will have their flesh removed and a burning lake of fire for dancing the Watusi at the Boogie Woogie. Or, or whatever the case may be. But yeah, why can't we, why does it have to be Catholics versus the Baptists or the Protestants? Why can't it be like, oh, I just need like a couple more yards and my fantasy football team is going to, succeed as far as like humanity, um being humane to one another, like, oh no, by all means, after you, let me get this store for you, ma'am, you dropped your wallet or clutch or whatever. Anyways, like, just be a fucking good human. And that's sort of where I stand as sort of like an agnostic atheist, um just because I feel like I've got a lot of unanswered questions. But I really am for, and I'm not so, I really am for, let me finish that thought before I move on to the next one. I really am for like the being a good human. But I just I need more answers before I can say, oh, I'm that I am a Buddhist. Like that's it. I'm a Buddhist.
Well,
That's who I am.
you know, growing up in the church like you just described, um, I imagine there's a fair amount of kind of long-term scarring that comes with that.
Sure.
Uh,
Yeah. There's a little
you know,
resentment.
I mean, yeah, I don't want to speak disrespectfully of like your family dynamic or anything, but I have heard in the past that when people break from a religion that a parent of theirs was like a leader within the church, kind of level of like commitment to, uh that can often leave like way more questions and even a level of possibly like distrust.
Sure.
um
Yeah. Yeah. That feels familiar to me. Like that feels, yeah, and like that sounds like something I would say, as far as like, well, what? There's a guy lived in a whale for 3 days? Like, oh yep, right in the stomach. He's not a metaphor at all. Totally good. Nope. All good. Yeah, and now it's like, maybe that was like a sort of like hinting towards overcoming, I don't know what Jonah and the Well is all about now. But maybe I'll go back and revisit it one day. But yeah, there's a little resentment there as well. That resonates with me. I didn't mean to take the wind out of your
not at all. It's I'm glad to hear some of your story too. I was feeling like I was
oh,
doing the sobercast monologue over here for a minute.
I wouldn't let you drift, brother. I'd bring you back in, man. I'd bring you back in. Well, man, that's huge, man. And thank you so much for sharing that with us. We are at the point in the podcast where it does get a little heavy. We talk about like the shittiest part of somebody's job, or like their religion, or the alcoholism, or troubles at home, whatever the case may be. So I always like to shift gears with a poop story. Have you ever pooped your pants, or do you know
Oh,
somebody that
absolutely.
pooped their pants, or any kind of work related poop stories that you want to share with us?
Yeah, no, I've definitely pooped my pants.
Or
I'm
gorillas?
trying to pick I'm trying to pick which poop story I want to share with you tonight.
Now, while
Um,
you while
hmm.
you reflect on that, this will give me a good time to belch. This will give me a good time to plug our good friends at houndstoothcbdco.com. Houndstoothcbdco.com is a CBD herbal supplement for your dog. Dogs show us the truest form of unconditional love. So why not do the same for your dog? Houndstooth CBD Co. is certified. Each treat is individually dosed, so you know you're getting exactly the amount of CBD in every treat. Visit houndstoothcbdco.com and receive free shipping for all my listeners. That's houndstoothcbdco.com. anyways, back to the poop story. You were saying there's a couple of them that you were maybe thinking about doing. Did you have time to, while I was filibustering there, to come up with one that you might
Yeah,
like?
well, so just like I want to just say that most of my like top list of poop stories that I'm thinking of start with wanting to make a kind of statement of a fart
Yeah.
and then just pushing it a little too hard. And I don't think I'm alone there. I think that like
No.
most of us that like have pooped our pants like more than a time or two, like non-food poisoning related as adults,
Yeah.
were probably like aware that that something like was about to happen at that sphincter, and like just grossly miscalculated what was going to happen. um I mean, correct me if I'm like wrong on that. Post it in the comments or whatever if this is off. But
Right.
I don't think I'm alone in most of the times I've pooped my pants, thinking that I was just gonna throw a really raucous fart.
Yeah.
And um,
One one with a
like
lot of gravitas.
I'm
If
I'm I'm probably gonna share this link depending on how the rest of it goes with like family friends. I'm gonna like encourage my mom to listen to it. If you're listening, I love you, mom. I love you, dad. um, I can't think about like funny poop or fart stories without thinking of my mom, because bless her heart, she does not think that farts are funny.
yeah. Yeah.
Period. And like once
Right.
you cross that poop line, it's like, all right, well, that was nice, like listening about how like sending him to Unitarian Church like was a good experience, and like they're on to like poop jokes. So like I'm tuning out now. Bear with us, mom. This I think this is funny. And we're about to get into something else, so I'll make this quick. Um, one of the ones that really stands out in my mind. I was driving to brunch when I lived in Albuquerque. I was attending the University of Albuquerque, University of New Mexico, I should say. Go Lobos for all of you Lobos out there. Um, and it had been a late night. There was some drinking, and for all I know, possibly some other extracurricular behavior going on. And a dear friend of mine who was a friend since elementary school was hanging out with us that night. We're still friends to this day. Um, and we were in the car together going to meet some of our other buddies to get like a really nice hangover breakfast.
Yeah.
And I leaned real hard towards. I was driving. I leaned real hard towards the my door on the driver's side
Yeah.
to kind of angle what I thought was going to be an amazing fart towards my friend who's in the passenger seat, and proceeded there. Like sometimes it like starts as a fart and then turns into a like that. Well, that was unexpected. Now you pooped yourself.
Yeah.
This one didn't start with any fart at all. It was a complete miscalculation of the makeup of what was about to be discharged.
Yeah.
and and it was a very wet, very gross poop. And it went like there was no question in my mind, because you know I was like giving it the squeeze for like full emphasis, and
Sure.
there was no question. It went straight through my pants like immediately. And the reason I chose to share that one is like the look on my friend's face was like the most perfect mix of like delight and absolute horror. Because he was like really really excited that I had pooped myself, but like also really deeply dismayed that I'd pooped himself like at him in the car.
Yeah, it was pointed towards him. Yeah.
Yeah, that
To
that
announce
was it
it.
was it was really bad. So I very what I think was maybe gracefully flipped a U-turn and went back to my dorm
So you're
and waddled upstairs, cleaned myself, changed my pants, and then we were late for brunch. and he still remembers it. I still remember it, and I can't help but chuckle about it.
Did you announce it through your mouth? Like, did you say, "I just shit my pants"? I know you announced it through your anus, but did you announce it through your mouth and say, "I just shit my pants," or was it known?
Yeah, no, it was known.
Yeah.
I think at the same time that I was enjoying his facial expression, I th-
Yeah.
it I couldn't watch myself for what my face looked like, but I think there had to be an element of surprise and disappointment that like read very vividly on my face. And I think he actually made the verbal announcement. And if I recall correctly, it was pretty close, if not verbatim. Dude, you just shit yourself. I'm pretty sure that was the quote coming from my bud.
Yeah, that sounds right. You, sir, are a storyteller. That is I was on the edge of my seat, much like yourself, from start to finish there. That was great.
Well,
Oh
thank
my
you.
god.
Try to keep it clean, but if prompted to go there, you know, if you ever have me back, I'm not even gonna tease your audience right now because it'll take the rest of the hour. But I'll text you something to ask me about next time
Okay,
if
man.
you want a really grueling story. No
I like
poop
it.
involved, but I do love to weave a yarn, and
Yeah,
part of having drank more heavily than I should have for so many years in my life. As my memory kind of repairs, you know, I've got lots I've got lots of stories.
yeah. Yeah, man. Um, is there any, PSA, any public service announcement that you want to, leave with, or do you feel satiated, so that we may close the chapter on this particular podcast?
Oh, I thought we were gonna do something heavy after the poop story.
No, it's if it gets a little heavy, we break it with a poop story. I'll usually end the podcast with
Oh,
a poop
okay,
story
got you,
because
got you.
in light of the like,
Okay,
"Oh, it's my shitty podcast," we'll talk about, like, a shitty part of your day or, like, a shitty situation, and you just, like, naturally went into, like, "I was going through this shitty time," and I'm like, "Oh, this is perfect, man. This falls right into format." And then we hit some
got you. Yeah,
religion.
no, I got you. I got you.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, I guess I would like to make a PSA, and just say, you know, as you'd mentioned, when I was talking about my downward spiral and how we were doing business towards the very bitter end of it for me. You know, I firmly believe that alcoholism is a disease, and a lot of people that don't show it, that you wouldn't know, are really suffering from alcoholism or other forms of addiction. Are out there in our lives, and I just like to take a moment to encourage everyone to normalize talking about uh, addiction across the board, and beyond that, mental health, you know, because it's not a physical condition like a broken arm.
yeah,
It absolutely comes down to a mental health issue, and with the pandemic raging on and lockdowns and stuff, I am so grateful to be sober today, and it blows my mind how many people are out there suffering in various forms of silence. How many kids are caught in the crossfire, like stuck at home with one or both or completely absent addicted parents who are really, you know, potentially very good people.
yeah,
The disease is real. Mental health concerns are very real, and uh, if I can, make myself available if someone's listening and needs to talk about what might be good steps to try to get some help. I'm not a licensed therapist, nor can I be uh your bank, your taxi cab driver, or anything really tangible for you. But if you need to talk to someone, like, talk to someone. And if you don't have someone, you know, contact me. Yeah, contact Adam. And Adam, you've got my permission to give my number, my email out. I just Anything I can do to help anyone else out of the dark and into the light, um, that would be my PSA for the listening base. Is if you think you need some help, please go out and get it. And if you can't find it, let me know. And worst case scenario, I'll listen.
Yeah, I'm just like you said, anybody that reaches out to the podcast, myshitypodcast.com, myshitypodcast@gmail.com, I'm happy to direct in any direction that I possibly can. I hold that with a heavy heart. Like I said, it's near and dear to me. I've got close friends that struggle with the same thing: mental health, drugs, alcoholism, depression. I take all of that very serious. So I'm happy to you know direct any way that I can. I'm not certified to tackle that particular
Yeah, we're
obstacle, but I
we're neither Adam nor I are the crises hotline. Just
right,
to make that clear. Like,
right.
if it's like, if it's make or break, do or die, if you got the pistol out, with dangerous thoughts, like honestly, like I did on the very last time I drank, I was ready to just not exist anymore, and I was given a second chance. Um, if you're in that position, call the crisis hotline. There's a lot of help that I can't give. But if you need to find a AA meeting, if you need to find a Narcotics Anonymous meeting, those are the kind of things that I can help you out with. Um, Recovery is possible. It's not for people who need it. It's unfortunately not even for people who want it. It requires some work. And I'm just so frigging grateful today that I've had the opportunity to put that work in, and will continue to do so. And I'm happy to do what I can to bring other people along with me.
Yeah, man, and I'm proud of you. Good job, man. You've come this far, and I know that you can go further, brother. So, like I said, anybody and everybody that needs to reach out, I'm happy to put you in the right place and also to be an open ear, as is
And
Dan mentioned.
Adam, I know you're like trying to wrap it up, so forgive me for this, but I'm just
No, man,
realizing that
no.
with your stellar listening base, I should probably also throw a last minute PSA on
Let's do
that.
it.
If you want help selling your house, or are ready to like get really serious about buying your house, and you're in New Mexico, um
Yeah,
you can talk to Adam outside of here and see if he will actually vouch for me or not. But even in the depths of my alcoholic decline, I really feel like I did a pretty good job for Adam. And I can't wait to show some of your listeners what working with a sober, stable realtor is like. And I would tell you what I'll do is, anyone that comes to me through your podcast, um, we get to the point where we close a sale, and I will donate $100 to a nonprofit of Adam's choosing, and $100 to a nonprofit of you, my prospective clients, choosing. And then I'll probably donate $100 to a nonprofit of my choosing too, because you know we all do better when we all do better. But
that's it.
I'd love to offer my real estate services, as well as like a shoulder for you to drunkenly cry on.
Yeah, man. I totally apologize to not plug you personally. You were a phenomenal realtor. And I had some ups and downs with a few before we finally locked you down, and you really, really went to work for us. So I highly recommend you. I will plug your website in the show notes. So if anybody wants to or is looking for a realtor, then you will be there at a hyperlink. So I will make sure that you get the representation that you deserve, because you crushed it, man. You really came through for me, and I know that you can do that for others out there. So you come highly recommended in my book. Anyhows, let's wrap it up, man. And Dan, I want to thank you for taking the time to do this, and for being just a stellar guest, man. That's it for us. And play us out, Shitty Ukulele.